I guess, I don't know, how do you feel today? Are you ready? Shall we start?
Yeah, I'm going to ad lib, depending on what you ask me. I read your questions and we modify, we evolve.
Yeah. But mostly, I just must say the like overall topic would be like, how do casting directors choose actors? But under that, we understand like ABC, like guide, like you as a casting director, what you're looking at, like profile, headshots, reel, slate. Do you need the reel? You don't need the reel. I mean, those things for like that the beginning actor should know and where to start. And basically we'll just cover like self-presentation, I would say, yeah, so that they would know how to sell themselves as like a personalized brand, I would say, like profiling, or I'll ask about social media if it's needed. So like all basic questions. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so
Now, is this going to be edited?
yes, well, it's going to be edited. Like first I will cut this first part before my introduction, so and then if everything goes smooth, we're not gonna cut anything out. I mean, if we will have some technical issues or something that you would like to be cut out after, you will tell me. But if we'll like all the conversation goes smooth, I don't see the reason to cut anything. It just, if only you would tell me that you don't like something on and so on. So I mean,
Well,
basically, yeah, I can send
yeah,
you the.
have your own you have your own post people, right, in editing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but usually, as I said, like for example, when we have a webinar, yeah, if everything goes smooth, we do not cut out anything. It's only like if there was some technical issue like we had right now, we would cut all this part. But
right.
like all the content, everything that you'll be saying or me asking, I mean, nothing is going to be cut. We're not like journalists that would, mix the words with the questions that the way they need it. No. We're not, I mean, news company or media or anything. No, it's just the content that we're creating for, I mean, for your exposure, for talent, knowledge, for their experience, so that because you're combining yourself an actor's experience, producer, director, and a casting director, I would say. So, I mean, you can see from all the perspectives, and I think that's the best insight that actors can get from the person who's been behind the scenes, from all the angles, how it works. So,
right.
so
we want to give them an introduction to their profile.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll just ask you, how do you choose talent or actors for your films? Yeah. And then we will go, like, you can start that the first thing you need to do to have a profile. I can ask you like pictures, whether you need professional pictures or just digital for the beginning. What do you need to place on that profile? What kind of skills or personal information? Just basic things that you really go through while digging for, like, looking for best talent.
Okay,
so no worries. Nothing.
I never worry. Well, doesn't do any good, does it?
Yeah, very good. I'm happy we're both smiling and in a good mood now after all this struggle with the sound. Okay, good. I guess then I'll start. So hello, my name is Kate and I'm head of casting directors department at Allcasting, and today we will find out, how do casting directors find talent? How do they choose talent for their films? And to receive the best insights on this topic, I've invited Richard Wilson, a producer, the director, and a casting director, I would say, with a wide experience in casting talent for his films. So I welcome you today, Richard. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for joining me today.
Thank you, Kat.
So before we will start discussing the topic, could you please tell me a little bit about your journey? How did all this path start in the film industry? Was it the dream of your life? Could you please share your story? I think that's really exciting to hear.
Oh my God, we don't have time for my whole story, but I can tell you I didn't start in film, I started in photography. That was back in 1981. December 28th, 2005, I woke up one morning and decided I'm going to write a film. I'm going to write a script. And 5 years later, it became a film.
Wow.
Everything in between is so much detail and so complicated. But yeah, my first feature film was a film called Windows.
Great.
And again, like I said, it took me 5 years to complete. Now it doesn't take me 5 years to complete a film.
Amazing. And I also saw that you're actually acting in short films. Did you need to get a degree in acting or take some specific classes?
Um, back to that same day, December 28th, 2005, one of the things after I started writing the script, I don't know what inspired me, but somehow I knew in order for me to be a director, if I'm going to direct a film, I have to know what an actor feels like. And I think there were some parts of me that felt I was already an actor, okay, because I'm very articulate. And I became an actor going through film schools, and they always needed actors for their film schools. And after about 2 or 3 years, I put my reel together. And after complications with my health, I had my teeth removed, and I had to start my reel all over again because my look or my appearance has changed. Okay, so I have a reel with my teeth, and now I'm starting a reel without my teeth. Now I have 2 films done, and the third one I'm waiting for the clips. Once that third one comes, I'm going to have a totally different reel with a different look.
Yeah, right.
So that's why I went into acting. In order to understand directing actors, I have to understand actors. And I
Right.
became an actor. And presently, there's one film you can watch on Prime Video, is a film called Deathbed. And it's a short film produced and directed by Luis Colon. And it's been on since 2017. So that's my latest film. It's still on Prime, and it's kind of a fun. It's a Twilight Zone-ish film, so it's kind of a fun film.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, maybe then you can get given it as advice for all the actors that are just starting, are in the beginning of their career. Where do they start? What are the initial steps to take?
That comes in that's I used to watch a lot of actors ask that question. A lot of famous actors, how did you get started? And they're not going to tell you their secrets. They're going to give you general comments. Oh, well, I worked hard and I went through the whole process and blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't give specific ways in which a person becomes an actor. First of all, an actor has to know within themselves they're already an actor. Okay?
Right.
In today's social media, you can see talent out there. As a casting director, I see talent out there, but they're not in any films. They haven't gone that route. They're just comfortable with their persona. And then they go out and they do whatever they do. There are those that chose to go into acting. And it depends on your resource. Now, the old standard way is from way back in the 60s to about the turn of the century, people went to acting school. And then from acting school, they did what they did. But now we have social media. okay? It's a whole different world for me. I feel like I'm from another planet, and trying to understand social media on what does an actor have to do. To start off, if you can't go to school, that doesn't mean you can't be an actor. School is very expensive. School is very time consuming. And in the last 2 or 3 years, our economy has gone through some very difficult situations. Where do you find the time to go to work and become an actor?
Of course.
That's a problem they all have to solve for themselves, but it can be done. So there's school, or there's film schools. Now, for people who don't have the resources, they can't afford to go to Juilliard. That's $100,000. A lot of people don't have the time because they have a job. They want to keep their apartment. It's a choice. Whatever the balance is, each individual actor has to find a balance. Okay? How do they get themselves out there? How do they get discovered? A lot of people are sitting on Instagram waiting for somebody to call them. Tarantino's not going to call you. Okay? Neither is anybody else. You have to get it out there, and there's only one way to do that, is to start your career from the start. How do you do that? Okay? A lot of people are doing what we'd like them to do, you and me. They put a profile on. Okay? And I don't see you as casting agents. I see you as profilers. You allow people to provide themselves the opportunity to put a profile so that they can look for castings. Now, there are very many different levels of casting. Film schools is one. Independent filmmakers is two. Then you get to the more serious filmmakers who are trying to get SAG actors. And then you have people like Tarantino. Tarantino, I'm sure, didn't hold a casting call for Uma Thurman to do Kill Bill. No, he called her and says, "Hey, Uma, how you been, sweetheart? Want to have lunch? I got a film." It doesn't happen that way for us. And basically, we have to start somewhere. So we have to start with, what's the best thing we could do is to do a profile. Okay, and what is a profile? Basically, a profile is a casting director like me. I'm presently working on 2 films. Okay, and they're very different films. One is a short, okay, and it's basically designed for people with no experience. My other film I've been working on for 2 years now, and my biggest problem is finding a lead. Okay, which is very different from a feature film to a very short film. They're 2 different types of film, but there are many different types of actors. Okay, and one of the things that a casting director looks for, to start with, there are 2 types of actors: SAG actors, non-union actors. Now, my films are non-union. I have not reached the level, nor do I have the resources to hire total SAG actors. Okay, so the category that casting directors need to see on a profile: are you non-union or are you SAG? Okay, that's number one. Number two is my character. Now let's use my example for my short film. I'm looking for a talent from the ages of 25 to 35. Okay, I'm looking for a slim bill. I'm looking for the location in New Jersey, New York area. Okay, So now when I see a submission, I'm hoping that the person, obviously on the short film, it says no experience required. I have actually 3 supporting roles, and the rest of the girls are sort of background, but with lines. So they're not background, but they're not supporting actors. It allows them to have a credit. So here's an example of how one can get what I call sort of a classification of actor. Do you have experience? And how do you find out if you have experience? 2 ways. Casting directors look for: 1, do you have any IMDb credits? That means you have some experience. You're not starting from scratch. 2, do you have a reel? Well, what's a reel? It took me 3 years to finally get a reel. Why? Because I had to do various films to get a varied amount of performances so that I can concise 10 seconds, 20 seconds of one clip into my film. Okay? So that's how you build a reel. Then you have to put it together. Now, with social media changing so quick, everybody has their own standard. So when I go to a profile, the first thing I see is a photograph. Okay? From my experience, I was already a photographer, so I'm cheating a little bit. But from my experience back in 2005 to 2010, I took my own picture. I just took a selfie, but I knew how to make a composition. Profiling companies have their own composition. All right. On a headshot, what we're looking for is a headshot, and everybody sees a headshot differently. If you go to a professional photographer, it's going to cost you money. But in the beginning, it's not really necessary. All you need is a sharp, composed, meaning head and shoulder. Okay, I seem to like the tight headshots, but head and shoulders are somewhere between a head and shoulder shot and a half shot. Why? Because we want to see your face. I want to see your face. I want to see what you look like. I do not want to see your face from 5 years ago when you had your hair painted pink. I want to see your hair today. Okay? So it has to be updated every 6 months. And again, when you're first starting out, you really don't need a professional photographer, which is why people that work with me on my film, they get headshots anytime they want. I don't charge them. Okay? But all a casting director wants to know, they don't care if it was shot by a famous photographer. They really don't care. They want to see something clear and updated. Okay? But it has to be clear. It can't be one of these numbers.
Right.
It has to be one of these numbers, at most these numbers. So that's what a casting director looks for. First, they see a headshot. Second, they want to see experience. How do you get experience? IMDb credits. IMDb means International Movie Database, where your movies have to be registered. And usually it's by film festivals or screenings or theater or whatever. Second, we want to know, can you act? And how do we know you can act? Because you have a reel, and it gives us a general idea of how you can perform.
Right. But besides the reel, do you need also to have a slate, or it's enough to have a headshot and the reel?
You know, that's funny. Slate, okay, you know, you gotta forgive me. I'm an old man. I come from the old school, okay? Basically, the term slate is something that describes, it's a box. I wish I should have brought it out. It's a box. It makes a clicking sound for the film people to sync the sound with the movie. That was a slate. And on the slate, it was written the name of the film, the producer, the director, the scene, and that's a slate. Somewhere back 10, 15 years ago, somebody picked up the idea to slate a monologue or an interview or a rehearsal or a casting. All right, so that kind of has evolved. All right, has evolved to the point where basically the point of it is, if you do a clip, if let's say I'm doing, I can see your face. I can do your monologue, let's say. All right. Now the way it's used is this: the person that films it may not be the person that records the information or edits it. So the film person at an audition, he films it, but he has to remember who that person is. If he auditions 20 people, okay, he's not going to remember everybody. Just like when I get on the phone, somebody says, hey, it's Anastasia. Anastasia who? And I just talked to you yesterday. And I go, oh, right. There's no, so a slate identifies the film to take the product back to the director. So when the director opens up these mountains of reels, he wants to know who that person is, instead of trying to do the paperwork and say, oh no, this is number 27. No, that's number 43. It's crazy. So when the actor says, my name is Richard Wilson, my phone number is 201-555-5555, the director will immediately, if he's interested in the person, write that number down with the name. My name is Richard Wilson. My phone number is so-and-so. Now the casting director or the director is going to call that person and say, I want you back for a second call. Okay, so everything is about identifying yourself. So a slate identifies who you are with the performance that you provided.
Right. And I think it also brings the personality, right? Because I mean, the way you talk, your like natural voice and the face expression. So I think it helps casting directors to understand what person you're like when you're just like introducing yourself.
That's correct. That is very, very correct. And I think one of the things that I like to see in a slate is I like people to be confident about themselves.
Of course.
And just be yourself. I mean, I have no problem slating. You know, it depends on my mood. You know, if I didn't have my coffee, I'll go, my name is Richard Wilson, 201-555-5555. Okay. And if I'm in a great mood, I don't care.
Would you really record the slate like that in a bad mood?
Oh, no, absolutely not. What I am saying is, though, I've showed people in my film. I tried to do a film. It was a comedy. I'm not good with comedy. Okay. I tried to do a film with comedy, and I actually trained a young lady on how to, for this character, if you know the character, how to feel the part, dress the part, and enjoy the part. And it was for, I don't want to use the word, a sort of very secure, uneducated, happy, confident, lucky person. Instead, she came dressed almost like a nun. And her performance was not what I thought I had coached her on. And at that point, I said to myself, you know, I need a little bit more work on coaching, because I thought I was really clear on, you really have to enjoy the audition.
Right. Right. It's all about the journey. It's all about having fun in all you do.
Right. It's not always fun though. It's I think people get scared, and that kills the fun when they walk into an audition room and they find a lot of talent in there. They get all worried about the competition. What they don't realize is you don't walk into an audition because you want the role, because if there's 40 people there, that means 39 people are not going to get the role. Don't go to an audition to get the role. Go in the audition to give a performance. There's a big difference. When you struggle and you have to fight to get the role, that's going to affect your performance. I tell people, don't go there to get the role. You have no say in it. It's going to be the director. It's going to be the producer. It's going to be everybody else that's going to decide that. Just go there and have a good time and give a great performance. End of story. Say, thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, and I think it's, in the end of the day, it's usually the energy that wins. Not your
Absolutely.
appearance, not your appearance, but the energy.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely. And
right.
also, the thing is, if you're having a good time with it and you're really into giving a performance, really into good, because my monologue used to be Howard in the Film Network. Albert Finney won an Academy Award, and all the casting directors said, you got a lot of cucharones to do that film, that monologue. You're competing with, I said, no, I'm not competing with Albert Finney. I am performing Howard in Wilson, not Albert Finney, because it's a 4-page monologue. But sometimes even my great performance is not enough. Casting directors are looking for something the actor doesn't understand. Okay, there's something in a character. I write my own scripts. I already know what my characters look like. I already know what my characters sound like. And to find that actress requires coaching, because I can get somebody close, but to get them to get in front of the camera and be that character, it's a thrill for me to make them into that.
Of course, yeah. But if we
Let
go
you talk.
back to the profile, I mean, how many pictures do you actually need to see in order to understand if this person fits the role or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. No matter how you try to tell people what they need, basically one good picture is all I need to see, because then if the picture is clear and their location is in the near, I want to see their profile.
Right.
For example, in my short film, I also need a body shot. Okay, and when I say a body shot, I need to know a person's shape. Now, there's specific reasons for that, and it has to do with the weight of something, okay, on one of the props. If I say I need somebody, I want to see a picture of somebody around 120 pounds, okay? Let's say the prop is a trampoline. I can't have 10 people on a trampoline that weigh 250 pounds. Okay, because that's unsafe. That's going to mean the trampoline is going to break. That's why I need 10 people at 120 pounds. Okay, so sometimes a casting director wants to see a body shape. And a body shot doesn't mean you're naked. A body shot means that I can see your shape, leotards, dancing outfits, bathing suits, even lingerie, anything that shows your shape. Okay, so what do my minimum requirements is a clear headshot and a body shot, especially in this one film. Okay. So how many pictures? For me, I only need 2 recent shots. For anybody else, they might want to see character pictures. So for example, I had a fella that said he wanted to do a test shoot looking like a butcher. He wanted to put the apron on, he wanted to do, and I said, that's fine. So now I look like a butcher. Okay, that was the character, a butcher. So how many pictures should one put up? Minimum 2, maximum 5 or 6. We don't need to see 42 pictures of the same person in the same outfit with the same background. 1 picture of your best photo shoot. Okay, go to the next photo shoot.
Yeah.
How's your hair? If your hair in a photograph, if you put a picture that's 2 years old and a year ago you cut your hair real short, but you put up a picture of long hair, you go to the audition, the director's going to scratch his head, but in your picture, you have long hair.
Right. And I think here we're jumping to the next topic. What personal information would you like to see on the profile besides the images and videos, like body, like measurements, skills, anything else, like where it will be written on their profile? Do you even read it?
Oh, I have to read. Oh yeah, I do read it. What information on their profile do they need? First of all, the most yeah, let's talk profile. On their profile, obviously, one of the most important criteria is in most profiler sites, they're basically structured the same. But I think that a SAG filmmaker doesn't really require that because he gets his information from SAG. But if you're a line SAG filmmaker, you're going to still need information on the profiles on the sites. And what you need to know is where they're located. So in my casting says on the top, and this is for all casting, on the top left-hand corner, it says the film is in Jersey City, New Jersey. Okay. And the submissions are from Oklahoma, Ontario, Hawaii, California. And it's a micro budget film. Now, people in those states don't realize we're not going to send you a plane ticket. All right. So there's going to be a lot of conversation that's unnecessary. So basically, your information has to be, if you live in Brooklyn, okay, if you live in Brooklyn, you can get to Jersey City. I want to talk to you. If you don't live in Brooklyn, why would you submit that? If you live in Florida, if you live in Georgia, why would you submit for a film in New Jersey? So the profile has to be clear on that. That's one of the things that I have to look at before I start communication. height, weight, is that relevant? Sometimes it's not. But if I put in the casting, for example, on my lead character on my feature film, they have to be at least 5'7", okay, to 5'9". Why? Because the supporting actor, her husband, is tall. He's 6 foot, okay? It might be okay to put somebody that's 5'2", but standing next to a person that's 5'9", 5'10", 6 foot, it's not going to look appropriate on film. So you can put high heels on at 5'7", and that works. Yes, it's important. Okay, if the casting says slim, anybody can interpret slim. I get people getting angry at me on who are you to decide what slim is, and they're right. That's why I say I'm looking for someone slim at 5'7", 120 to 130 pounds. That's okay if they get mad at me. They're allowed. It's a free country.
Right. Okay. And, I was thinking about some skills, like besides acting skills, what are some, like, I would say mental skills, like patience, discipline, motivation, especially in the moments where you're not getting any callbacks at all. And it takes time. It takes months and months when you'll be just sitting and waiting for that call, and you just lose that motivation to continue that path. What are your advices here? Maybe you have some life hacks. What do you do in this moment?
First of all, I never give advice. Never, because nobody's going to do it anyway. Second of all, what I like to do is I could offer suggestions. What you're talking about is persona. You're talking about a person's persona. And the sub-element to that is endurance. You're like a casting director. You're trying to find people that are interested in their craft. And if you give them advice, they're going to ignore you. So I don't give advice. Okay? They're not going to believe me anyway. Okay, so endurance in the acting field is a tough nut. That's a tough nut. And I just, a little while ago, I mentioned that we're living in very difficult times. We're in a recession. We just finished COVID. We just finished isolation. We just finished political upheaval. And people are, and especially where I live, I'm in the New York City area. It's very expensive here. I live in a city across the river from New York, and it's expensive. It's almost as expensive as New York. Okay, so what kind of a person? What can I suggest to people? I don't want to pat myself on the back, but when in December 28, 2005, I already knew I was an actor. What I didn't have was experience. And I'm cultivating a process where you don't have to go to Juilliard. You don't even have to go to a 2-year program. And it's okay if you go. If you can afford Juilliard, go to Juilliard. If you go to Juilliard, you don't have, this question doesn't have to be answered. Okay, because you already have a networking. Okay, we don't have as strong a network as we'd like. Like I said, Tarantino doesn't need a networking. Uma, can you come over? Let's have lunch. I got a script for you. It's not going to happen that way. So for us, it's a struggle. You have to be able to endure the struggle. So I'm going to give my opinion. It's just an opinion. It doesn't make me right, wrong, good, or bad. It's my assessment. If you're going to college, how are you going to go to an audition? If you're married, how are you going to separate your job, your marriage, and your acting career? Well, it's done, but are you really prepared for what's coming? 3, mommy and daddy. Okay, mommy and daddy, minor. This young lady over here, she was 12 years old, never had any experience, nothing. She just one day, Mom, I want to be an actress. And she found me. Okay, a year later, the film is completed at the film festival. She's nominated for Best Actress. So she's doing something right. You have no idea the struggles. So the persona, what is your persona? How are you able to endure this? Nobody wants to ask themselves. Nobody wants to assess themselves. Okay, just like I'm assessing your casting process. Okay, nothing is perfect, but we're striving to make it better. And if we make it better, we grow. Same thing with me. I have to do a self-assessment every year because things change. I can't even open up my computer on Zoom sometimes. Okay, what's wrong? What did I do wrong? It's a learning process. We struggle with it, we find a solution, and we go for it. Not everybody can do that. And before people go investing in money and things, they first have to invest in themselves. How am I going to get better? What do I need to do? And there are ways of doing it. Well, it's too expensive. Oh, it's too time consuming. Oh, it's too much struggle. Oh, I'm scared. We're all scared. Everybody's scared. Everybody pretends they're not scared. Everybody in the world is scared. But we still do what we're going to do. Okay, so they have to decide their process. I can't decide it for them because if I give them advice, they're going to say, well, what are you talking about? They have to experience it. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, totally. And I agree with you. I mean, it all depends on how much you want it. Actually, everything in our life depends on how much you want it. I mean, in career or studies or family or traveling or money, anything. How bad do you want it? And then you will find the ways. You will find people. Just like you said with this little girl, she wanted to be an actress. There you go. So yeah, I guess you've covered all my questions, and I think this interview actually brought so many valuable insights to our talent. And as just a final chord, I know you do not give advices, but maybe you could just wish something, one wish to all our actors that are just beginning their career. Just some little wish that maybe something helped you in the past when when you were starting your career. What could you wish them all?
I wish them all to be fearless. No matter what the obstacle, the greatest result of an obstacle is fear. And if you don't assess, if you don't investigate, for example, if you look at me on a picture, I look like a criminal. Okay, so if that's how you make an assessment just by observation, don't do that. Okay, you have to overcome what you think your fear is, and the best way to do that is to talk to somebody in film. You got to find somebody to talk to because it's scary. It's going to be scary. So get used to it. Get used to it. I want every actor who believes in them. You got to really believe in yourself. Fearlessness. Fearlessness is the only way you're going to step your pinky in the water. You have to be fearless. And if you use excuses to not go to an audition, if you use the excuse to be angry, if you use the excuse to stay home and wait on the phone. That's because you're not fearless. You're petrified. You're petrified. You're afraid of failure. And some people, a lot of them, are afraid of success. They're afraid. That's called subliminal sabotage. And it's subliminal because you don't know you're doing it. You're going to do everything because you're afraid. I don't give advice, but I love fearlessness.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's an incredible advice, actually. I'll take it for myself because I mean,
all of us. Yes.
all of us. Yeah. Just stay strong, stay brave, and just go your way. Just go your way without turning around, going back, because there will always be someone or something pulling you off that path. So incredible. Thank you. Thank you, Rich, so much.
You're quite welcome. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Goodbye, Richard.
Okay. We'll talk soon.
Talk to you. Bye-bye.